Hello, Hannah.
Hi.
All right,
How are you?
good. Oops, we've lost her. Let's see if we can get her back. There we go. Are we back?
I think so. Okay. My screen looks weird and I'm not touching anything. We're good. I can see your face and that's all that matters.
Okay. Yeah. So sometimes there's always a little technical snafu, but glad we're connected. And thanks for joining me here today for this important conversation about a more holistic perspective around work and life, and especially how we balance that as women and business owners. So I would love it if you would just share with those who are watching a little bit about yourself and your thoughts on what it means to bring your whole self to your business.
Oh, yes. I love this conversation. I think it's so important. Um, and so like you mentioned, the intro was great. I am a financial advisor. I'm a certified financial planner, actually, and I have been in this industry since 2007. And I started in banking in 2006. So it's, been my entire adult career. um, that I have been helping people understand what's happening with their money. And so when I started way back then, I had the training, right? We're trained as, being a financial planner, trained to help people see their options, right? Here's your checklist of things to do, like gather the data, get good data in so we can put a good, plan together. All of that is extremely important. And what I found over years and years of doing this was that I could put together the most beautiful plan, right? It could have beautiful charts and graphs, have beautiful, layout of very clear, easy to understand recommendations, checklist, check your boxes off to do all the things. And when we would meet again in 6 months or a year, very few of those things had actually been done.
Mhm.
And so it wasn't about the like having the plan necessarily. It was about how is this integrating into your life truly? How are you able to prioritize the things that really matter to you, right? And then, like in my case with money, right? Are you able to actually prioritize those things, or do we need to find another way
Mhm.
for you to actually reach your goals? And when I launched X Squared Wealth Planning, my firm, back in 2021, I knew I wanted to work with business owners specifically, because what I had noticed, in my previous days, at the other firm that I had worked at, was that when we just focus on the personal side of financial planning, especially for business owners, if anything goes wrong in the business, they're immediately not just like cutting off any of their savings, they have to take from, and so they're constantly in this cycle of uh, trying to build, but then putting out fires, trying to build, putting out fires.
Mhm.
And because of the way that we did financial planning, that was, I couldn't help them get out of that cycle because we weren't looking into the business.
Mhm.
So when I launched X Squared, I wanted to work with business owners and truly help them transform their financial story and their wealth, um, and actually have it stick.
Mhm.
And what I noticed was that we had to not only do the plan and do the numbers and do, the checklist, like that's still an important part of it, but we really had to dive into how you're feeling about the numbers, how you're feeling about the process, how you're feeling about, you know, I had one client who, when we talked about cash reserve, she almost started crying. She
Mhm.
had a very emotional reaction to thinking about putting money away into a reserve account where its job was to be a safety net.
Mhm.
And there were issues, like old wounds coming up around, my parents never once had a safety
Mhm.
net. I did not grow up with a safety net. I don't know what it feels like to be supported by a safety net like that. And that if for me being the financial planner, if I just say, well, if you just save $500 a month into this account, it'll be fine.
Yeah.
Right. And that doesn't touch the emotional reaction, right? The emotional tie that there was to that feeling of like, I'm not supposed to have a safety net because I don't know what that feels like.
Mm-hmm.
And so the magic, truly, it feels like magic of helping people see their, you know, the motivations behind their financial decisions
Mm-hmm.
and diving into that aspect of it so that they can actually make new decisions from a place of this is what I actually want to create. I don't want to repeat these old patterns. That has been transformational. It's been so phenomenal to see it literally work in front of my eyes, right? Over the last X Squared has been opened for it'll be 3 years in January. And so being able to see the growth that my clients have experienced over that time using these new methods and tools, in addition to the like traditional financial planning, um, it blows my mind even, to see it actually work.
Yeah, I would imagine that that is the case. And it is so interesting that, and I think going in, if we think about financial planning as business owners, we are focused on the metrics and we are focused on tell me how much I need to put in this account and how much I need to put in that account and where are my cash reserves, what's the cash flow, et cetera. So we're looking at it from a very data driven place. And just as you express the story with your client, if you don't see or you aren't quite aware of yet your own internal stories, dialogues, emotions around your finances and around particular ways of managing money, then yeah, you may be the best manager, you may provide the best service, you may deliver the best product to your clients, but you will inevitably get stuck at what you can't see about how you're managing both your business finances and your personal finances. So I love that you're bringing both sides of that together to help support business owners. And in terms of what you see with your clients, you kind of mentioned one story there, but is there someone who sort of switched from thinking about isolating their finances for themselves personally and then isolating their finances from their business, and you've kind of gotten them to see that even though they might be in separate accounts, it's the background story is all interwoven, and then how you're going to manage your personal finances and your business finances is ultimately up to you bringing your whole self, as the topic that we're discussing today, to that picture. Do you have any examples or stories about clients who've been through something like that?
Yes. And so the way that I approach that is to almost head it off at the beginning, right? So most most business owners that I work with are like growing. They're doing great in their business. There are always challenges, here and there, right? So there are times where we work through challenging economic conditions and things like that as well. But for the most part, most of my clients are in like this growth phase. And what's super interesting is that a lot of them are very start out anyway, very fearful of paying themselves the amount that they actually need in order to fully support their home, right? And so I work with a lot of clients to that it's not that the income isn't there, it's that kind of what you're saying. It's like, no, that's in the business.
Mm-hmm.
So that has to stay there. And I'm like, well, why do we have so much in these different areas when you are, clearly wanting to experience more ease and flow in your personal life, but you're like shutting off the faucet in between. Because for a business owner, um, especially if you're a solo practitioner, or let's see, I have quite a few clients where both partners are entrepreneurs, right? So everything coming into the household is self-employment income.
Mm-hmm.
We have to we have to be able to understand what the business needs to thrive. So what are your business expenses? How much do we need to save for taxes, right? We need to understand what those numbers are from a revenue perspective, but we also really need to understand what your personal expenses are as well, so that, we can match up how much revenue do you need to make in order to abundantly cover your business expenses and be able to take income to pay yourself to cover your personal expenses. And so in that way, it's an interesting thing that happens over time. Then people start to, my clients, in particular, one that I'm thinking of, um, she has increased her salary to herself. I think she's doubled it over the last year, and wants to see the path to double it again.
Mm-hmm.
And this is not into, like, she's not paying herself $50,000 a month or anything like that. She wants to be able to pay herself $15,000 a month from her business. And so, when we're looking at it together, she's like, I feel like it's going to be okay, but I'm also concerned, right? Like I get a little bit fearful of,
Sure.
am I going to be able to sustain that? And so the interesting thing that we do then, okay, you've got that question, you really would like to be able to pay yourself more, and let's look at the revenue, let's look at the income. When we looked at it all together, we saw that she could actually pay herself $10,000 a month right now.
Mm-hmm.
She could do like a nice chunk of that next step up
Mm-hmm.
without changing anything.
Wow.
And so where does the next 5,000 come from? That comes from growth, right? There has to be more growth in the business in order to be able to take that much income. But the the revenue existed already to be able to pay herself more than she was paying and still have the business be healthy and
Mm-hmm.
whole. And so it's really interesting to see, we, from a behavioral finance perspective, we do have a tendency as humans to do some mental accounting, it's called, or compartmentalizing,
Right.
where nope, those dollars are for this thing. And why do you say that? Like, I don't know, that's just what I think it is. And I run into that all the time, where people don't necessarily know why they have different money in different places, or I feel like I should have this here, but I don't really have the numbers to back it up. It just is like the feeling of, and what that feeling is, we if I tell them logically, well, you need this many dollars here and this many dollars there, that doesn't address the feeling of anxiety
Mm-hmm.
that they're feeling around, is it okay for me to move everything? Is it okay for me to reallocate things so I can see things more clearly? So we have to honor that. We have to honor the feelings that are coming up, that sometimes feel a little anxious, or feel a little bit nervous, um, or even into feeling unworthy. Right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of feelings that can come up, around money. Money is very, very tied to our innate sense of security in the world from a very young age. Before we even knew what money was, we knew what security felt like. And then when we start to get the money stories that lock in from a very young age to, what does that mean about my security in the world, that's where a lot of our, what I call, money stories stem from, tie into.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think that it's something that we all deal with, whether we're actually conscious of it or not. And especially as entrepreneurs, I mean, I think being an entrepreneur or having your own business is just, you learn so much about yourself
Hmm.
into these mental roadblocks and stories all the time. So, do you have one or two tips that you would be able to give business owners who feel like they are compartmentalizing, and how they might move from a compartmentalized approach to their business and personal finances into more of a holistic approach, and into this idea of bringing their whole self to their business?
Yeah. So the first the first thing that anyone can do, you don't need me or a financial advisor or a CFO necessarily to do this step, is to take a true accounting of what you're spending in your business and then in your personal, right? And so if you say you have QuickBooks or something similar, right, for your business, like looking at your profit and loss statement and actually seeing the expenses, right? Making sure it's reconciled first. So you go through and make sure you got all your transactions listed out. But once you do that, right, like actually understanding what is flowing through your business, what are your actual expenses?
Mm-hmm.
Again, on the personal side, what are your actual expenses that you are experiencing? There are tons of ways to do that. You could use Excel, right? You can use an Excel spreadsheet. You could use, I think Rocket Money is one of the new ones. You can use Mint. There are so many different um, tools now where you can do some budgeting. I say that word very loosely because truly, I don't care how much you spend on food. I don't care how much you spend on coffee. I don't care how much you spend on, movie tickets or babysitters. It's all about what matters to
Mm-hmm.
you, right? It's all about what actually is aligned for you to be spending your money on.
Mm-hmm.
And the first step, the absolute first step, is just being clear
Mm-hmm.
without any changes. You don't go into it saying, well, oh, I spent, $800 eating out last month. Should that be different? It's not, we're not asking any of those questions. It's you spent $800 eating out last month. Okay. How much, is that the right amount for you? Because, was it a busy month? Did you not have time to prepare dinner? Like, what were the other things that went into that? Or do you like to eat at nice restaurants a couple of times a week and that's fine,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like there's zero judgment attached. It's literally just a matter of making a choice of how you want to spend your money. So that was a little bit of a soapbox. But so having the information, just having the information. So let's say your business expenses are $6,000 a month and your personal expenses are $5,000 a month,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so we now know that you need $11,000 a month just for, to move the cash through each system efficiently.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not all you need, right? We have to be able to plan for taxes. We have to be able to plan for profit. We have to be able to plan for, those rainy day funds or those cash cushions. And so from there, when we're looking at the picture holistically, we can see, okay, what does the business need to generate in order for it to keep pace with the expenses the way they are, be able to pay you the amount that you need in order to thrive in your personal life, and then save for your taxes and have profit left over, right? And so that's the first step, is to see it holistically rather than seeing them as separate
Mm-hmm.
things. Does that make sense?
Yeah, sure. And it also just sounds like you're saying bring yourself and your personal expenses into the picture of what your business is generating. And we get so isolated, I think on profitability, right, of cash flow in, cash flow out of the business account. And we're fixated on generating that profitability that often we do sort of just leave our own personal finances off to the side. And
Right.
yeah, I see the parallel with my clients in terms of wellness, right? We just drive ourselves forward on what the actions we need to take in our business, but we don't necessarily take care of our health on the back end. So
Mhm.
it makes sense. And I think we both know from working with people that our brains do things for efficiency and optimization, but when it is efficient and optimized in one spot or for one moment in time, and we continue to repeat that same pattern, it's not always going to stay, the formula that we need to continue to use for the rest of our business or the rest of our lives. So I love that you've shined a light on the fact that if we're not considering our personal lives and our personal expenses when we're looking at our business finances, that we really should. And that when we start to look at both of them together, more than likely there are going to be some emotions, there are going to be some backstories that maybe we didn't even realize that we had. And that's a space where you can help people unravel those stories and write a new script, basically, and then move forward and grow their business. So if someone is interested in learning a little bit more about how you can support them, where should they go?
Well, the first place would be my website, which is X and then the numeral 2 wealthplanning.com. So it's pronounced X squared wealth planning, but it's got that numeral in there. And on Instagram here, hannah.chapman.cfp is my handle. And a lot of, the things that I do I post pretty regularly here as well. I'm also on LinkedIn and Facebook and all the places. Um, so yeah, if someone was really like, oh, that's the thing that I need to focus on, this year or next year, I really want to get a handle on. A lot of times that's some of the language I hear. I want to get a handle on my money stories. I want to move through this. I want to be able to make financial decisions from a place of like peace and feeling like I'm in my power as I make these financial decisions for my business and for my life. That's such a beautiful place to start from. And so if you go on my website, there is also a free download called Light Up Your Desires, which is literally one of the initial steps I take new clients through. So I'm literally giving that piece away so that you can see that we start from discovering what you actually want to create, both for your business and your personal. What do you want to experience in life? What do you want to create in your business? What impact do you want to have on your family, on your community with the business that you're creating, right? So it's journaling prompts to like help you start to think about what you actually want in a new way. And
Mhm.
so whether that is like you come back to me and we go through that, or you go to someone else and say, hey, I did this exercise. If maybe you have a financial planner and you're like, I never had these questions asked to me this way before, but it made me think about these things that I want. How can we, start to put a plan in place? That's what I want from that. Um, so yeah, that's available for free on the website. If you go there, there'll be a pop-up and ask for it. Um, and yeah, and if that also resonates, you can book a call with me right on the website as well.
Great.
So it's all there.
And I should also note that they should listen to the Expansive CEO podcast as well.
Yes. Next Tuesday, there will be a very special episode with Brooke on talking again about how we bring the personal and the professional together, that they are not separate pieces of who we are, right? It's all together. And the more that we can bring our whole selves to everything that we're doing, business and personal, the more balanced we are just within ourselves. So yes, Expansive CEO podcast will be dropping. I probably will have an Investment Friday episode on Friday where we talk about what's going on in the markets. And then on Tuesdays, I get to have awesome conversations with other coaches and healers and people who help bring more love. I think more love for self, more love for others into the world in general with their work. And so I consider you absolutely one of those people.
Thank you very much. Well, it's been a pleasure to have you on this conversation with me, and looking forward to the podcast episode as well. And feel free to come back anytime and share your knowledge and inspiration about finances with us.
Love it. Thank you so much, Brooke.
Thanks. Bye bye.